We say that every single year. So understanding the demand side is getting harder and harder literally by the day. So again, these shifting demand patterns, big fan of batteries, any type of renewables, rooftop solar, and again, there's extreme weather events, and even now predicting demand patterns during a pandemic makes it harder. Your home doesn't look like it used to. Businesses are unfortunately shut down. That's where we actually come in and shine. And so we need this because there's more and more bankruptcies, there's more and more blackouts, just because the grid, people don't know what to do with it. And unfortunately, a lot of this is still being done in Microsoft Excel. So what we are poised to become is the brain of the smart grid. With the real-time operational analytics, we come in using data science, machine learning, and top flight meteorology to show exactly what's going on, what our predictions look like. So with that, we went and asked a bunch of retailers and utilities and said, what's your problem? And they said that they lose 8 to 12% of revenue, top line revenue every year due to poor electricity demand intelligence. So revenue is very important, but what's more important is emissions. And so with emissions, that means that we are literally turning on 8 to 12% too much electricity all across the entire globe. Because if you don't turn on enough, you either have blackouts or you get to turn on oil peakers. And if you have too much, then you're running unnecessary generation, which a lot of time is going to be some type of thermal. So with that, it's billions of dollars lost globally from a margin standpoint, which then actually passes on to the consumer, leading to higher electricity prices and much higher carbon inefficiency, which again is what I think a lot of us are here trying to solve. So this is our platform. What we do is we come in and we give you an hour by hour prediction. In Australia, we actually give as much as a 5-minute prediction saying this is what exactly your personal demand looks like for the next 15 days. 15 days is how far out like the Euro weather model goes. And so we give you predictions for that entire time for the grid level, but then also for your customized portfolio of say 300,000 meters. And that's what our main product is. And then also on top of that, you need kind of a midterm forecast. We call it more of a long-term forecast, but in the utility world, it's definitely more of a midterm as we're looking at 4-year planning. What our models are able to pick up that isn't traditional is, again, just what happened during COVID. The historical usage that we've seen over the last year, not pertinent anymore. And then on top of that, if somebody puts solar on their roof, that's great. Wait, what does that make their profile look like? Completely different. And so that's where we're really able to come in, especially now with the adoption of smart meters. Roughly 1 billion across the entire world and show our forecasts. So a little bit about us. We founded in the end of 2017. We're currently making about $65,000 per month. And we've got 350,000 meters under management just in Texas. We've also just launched in the PJM area where we actually have about 100,000 meters there. And then one of our really fun engagements is with AEMO, the Australian Energy Market Operator. Again, as the world's changing, and that's what we're all out here to solve, we released a paper last week that you can find on our website just discussing the impact of smoke on PV solar output. And so that's something that a lot of utilities are unaware of and something that's very hard to solve. And thankfully, we took a pretty good stab at it. So with that, we've been very fortunate to be named the best load forecaster in the entire globe. The last major competition was held by Dr. Tao Hong. There were 142 data scientists from 26 countries, and we won first place and then hired second place, who had won the previous 6. And so we just believe demand is very, very important and something that we should focus on. And we don't want to just expand too much and focus on too many things. So that's what we're sticking with. So happy to talk to any utility who's not happy with their demand forecast. It's been a really fun 3 years, and we're just getting started. And again, I'm Sean Kelly, co-founder and CEO of Ampron. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Sean. Okay.
Thank you very much.
We open it up to questions now?
I guess so. I would have a first question for you, Sean. Thank you very much for the presentation. What is actually your revenue model with the utility would be the first question. And how does the utility helps having 5-minute demand on the grid side. So what can they trigger within this time frame on the grid and production side to match the demand, actually?
Hello?
Yep. Okay, so will you be answering right now, or we can ask another question? Sean, do you hear us?
Were there any questions
Hello?
at this point?
Hi, Sean. Do you hear me?
I do now.
I think that you are not hearing the judges because there
No,
were
I can't
questions.
hear anything.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Besides
let
you.
me quickly have a glimpse at our technical team. There are some technical glitches, obviously. Judges, can you speak now?
We can speak.
Yeah.
All right, I can hear you now. I thought I was losing my mind. I'm not awake yet.
Okay, so what's your revenue model, Sean?
Pardon?
What's your revenue model?
Yeah, so our revenue model is SaaS-based, and so at this point, we sign 1-year contracts based on the number of meters and the peak load that they're serving, and we're looking to sign longer contracts. We just put out for our first 3-year contract. As we continue to build out the product, it got more and more valuable, and we feel that there's a lot more revenue that we can tap into, as we're not monetizing our full potential. We're just trying to be an early adopter, and that's, I guess, one of the perks of being VC backed, is that you can worry about adoption more than making everyone pay the exact worth.
Can I add something to this question? Because there are a couple of customers you are selling to: utilities, traders, retailers, grid operators, and a couple of products, precisely 3. As I remember, this is
Yep.
AMP Retail, AMP Grid, and AMP Cast.
Yeah, correct.
So, could you tell us a bit more about the rev split between those type of clients and products, and where you see the biggest growth potential?
Yeah, great question. Our one grid operator we have is AMO, who's been a great partner to collaborate with. I guess the most of our business, probably about 75%, is AMP Retail. That's where we found just the biggest pain points, but also the quickest adoption. Obviously, as a 3-year-old company, a 2-year long sales cycle is something that we've started now, just dealing with utilities and government agencies. But retailers were great. We've been able to close them in as little as a week. Mm-hmm. And so that was a quick way to get meters as fast as possible. So I'd say right now about 75% of our business, as utilities come on board. We don't have a utility currently, but we've got contracts out with a couple of them. And I think that will obviously become a large chunk of revenue. It's just something that we didn't want to focus only on utilities. We've seen a lot of really smart early stage companies just kind of wait around too long or do too many pilots, and we wanted to focus on becoming profitable. So we should be close to break even, or we should be break even in spring of next year. So within the next 6 months.
Great, thank you.
Hey Sean, just a very simple question. How do you stand out vis-a-vis your competition? Because obviously there are a number of people that would like to explain demand and forecast demand, and how does a startup build credibility there?
Yeah, great question. So with that, there's something that is basically like accuracy percentage. So mean absolute percent error, or MAPE. And so we're able to judge that just head to head. It's an apples to apples comparison. And we beat pretty much everyone we've come across. I don't think we've ever lost that. And so after making some tweaks, and so we know from an accuracy percentage, we are the most accurate. Also, the competition that we were a part of is world renowned. Dr. Tao Hong is kind of the global expert on demand forecasting. By winning first by a pretty wide margin, and then hiring second, really kind of set us apart as well. And so, yeah, in terms of accuracy, we haven't seen anyone. We've seen some that compare, but no one that actually can beat us.
It was also the time. So we are moving to our second startup now.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Sean. So yes, as I said, we are moving to our second startup now. The startup's name is Kairos, and it is going to be represented by Christine Lelong, who is the Director Natural Resources, and she'll be pitching straight from France. Christina, do you hear us?
Yes, good morning, everybody. I'm going to share my screen. So I want to talk to you about Kairos and the product we have developed for climate action and greenhouse gas emissions. And so the problem we're tackling here is methane emissions. It's the second largest contributor to climate change after CO2. And the problem we have is there's a lack of data on where these emissions are coming from. We don't know exactly where, we don't know how big they are, and therefore it's very hard to do anything about it. So companies in the energy sector don't necessarily know what their total footprint is. They cannot take action to eliminate those leaks. Their consumers, whether they're utilities or steel companies or other industrial sectors, they don't know what are the embedded emissions in the products that they are delivering to their end users. And of course, investors don't know what the reputational and financial risks are because they have no visibility whatsoever on methane. So this is the problem that we're trying to solve. And the solution we have is the world's first global monitoring platform for methane emissions. So what you see on the map with these orange dots is the last 18 months of data on large concentrations of methane. And this is a world first. Until now, we knew there was methane in the atmosphere, but we didn't know exactly where and how big those leaks were. And so you see on the map, there's detections based on pipeline networks in Russia, oil fields in Uzbekistan, coal mines in Australia, and so on. How does this work? We use data from the European Space Agency, and we apply artificial intelligence to automatically detect large concentrations of methane. So this is what you see on the left. We then use atmospheric models to quantify the volume of methane being leaked. So in this particular example, we found a very large source in the middle of Algeria. And this is, in environmental terms, this is really bad. This is like having 10 coal power plants running at full steam in the middle of the desert. We then use high resolution imagery to pinpoint the exact location. So the image you see in the middle is an injection well. So we know that this is where the problem was. And we had some validation from the company who said that they had an incident in their Hassi Messaoud field, and it took them about a week to fix it. We have been sharing this information with a number of institutions in the public sector, like the International Energy Agency and the European Commission, with industry, associations of oil and gas producers, and with the financial sector. So this is some of the comments from one of our, people we talked to at BlackRock. So for us, it's very important to raise awareness about methane and the steps that can be taken in the short term to eliminate this type of pollution. So the product we have developed is, we call it Methane Watch. The difference with existing solutions is that it has a global scope. It can detect methane in places where you don't necessarily know it's happening. And it can provide annual reports by company, by country, or by supply chain. Whereas existing solutions are much more narrow in scope, and they're only deployed in places where you already suspect there is something, but certainly do not provide comprehensive coverage. In terms of our go-to-market strategy, we launched the product officially at the end of July. We offer it as an annual license. The pricing reflects both the geographical scope that the client needs and the type of functionality. Our anchor client, we were going to be announcing that in the next few days. And we are targeting both the emitters in the energy sector, as well as financial institutions like asset managers, power and gas utilities, coal mining companies, and the public sector. In many cases, these target clients are already companies that have an existing relationship with us. And just as an aside, we're also working on biomass monitoring and carbon sequestration. So this is another area where satellite imagery and artificial intelligence have a lot of potential. So this is something we're having for next week. And just a couple of words on Kairos. So we're headquartered in Paris. We have presence in the Americas and in Asia. And our management team and advisory board has a lot of experience in natural resources and energy. And on our advisory board, the former CEOs of BP and Schlumberger have been particularly active and supportive in our work on methane emissions. So I'll stop there and look forward to your questions.
Thank you.
I have one question. What is the frequency of update of the information on your platform?
So we rely on satellites from European Space Agency. The main source of information has a flyover frequency of once a day. Other satellites will have a frequency of every 3 to 4 days. And then you need to, accept that, clouds will sometimes get in the way. So the effective rate of frequency is going to be once every 3, 4, 5 days or so, depending on the region.
And for critical assets as gas pipelines and things like that, that is acceptable, or it's a constraint?
So it is, of course, the more images you have, the better. But the starting point is there is no data whatsoever. So this is the first time we can look at the whole world with a rate of frequency in the order of days. And we expect that as time goes on, there'll be more satellites and the number of measurements will continue to increase. But currently with this tool, you can already establish inventories of methane by asset and company over a period of time.
Okay.
I have a question concerning your competition and other, because I'm also in France, and maybe you know the company EarthCube. So it's not focused on methane, but it's focused also on data analysis with satellites. So how you position yourself within all company that could be specific on an aspect, for example, security, how you manage that?
So we chose not to participate in the defense and security sectors. And so our focus is very much on energy and now the environment. And we think that you need AI expertise and scientific know-how, but it's also important to have the industry expertise. So understanding what an energy supply chain looks like, what are the patterns of methane releases in pipelines when companies do maintenance, what are the things that companies can do to address that. So we think it's really this overlap of the technical expertise in AI with the industry expertise on energy and greenhouse gases.
Got one question, because, during the presentation, you were talking mainly about data from sats. It's obvious, but in the materials, I have come across that you are combining data also across mobile device location, social media, the web, and everything. So could you provide us with info how important are those other data stream, and what other you maybe plan to add?
Yeah, absolutely. So the satellite imagery on methane is the starting point, but then we want to understand the context and what's happening on the ground. So thermal imagery can be useful in some cases when the companies are flaring gas, so it's burning rather than just releasing it on its own. Geolocation is helpful, so you can see when companies have been doing maintenance work on an asset, and you can see if that precedes the detection of methane. We can use radar imagery to see if there's been any construction work that may have disturbed an installation. And then there's operational data. For example, oil companies who have recently drilled a well, we think that's the period where leaks are most likely. And so we correlate that data with the detections from the satellite. So this is very much our whole approach of looking at as much context as you can, and then drawing the correlations that we're discovering for the first time.
Okay, by the Korea from satellites and analyzing the satellites images.
Yes, so satellite images as a starting point. Then we use other types of satellite images, and then we can also rely on things like geolocation and data from energy regulators, for example.
Christian, yours is a really cool company, and I think you're solving a massive problem, and you have some very interesting customers who can pay. But a simple question is, how do you get them to pay? What is the imperative on their side if you were to clean up the environment? I mean, again, I run an environmental technologies fund, so I like to think we have good corporate citizens out there. But how do you get them to pay a lot for your software as opposed to, okay, that's nice, I can put that in my annual report?
Yeah, no, that's been an interesting discussion we've had, because companies have been used to, keep all these data about their environmental performance sort of in-house. But they're starting to accept that transparency is coming, whether they like it or not. So there's a reputational aspect to this. And we think that as the consumers, so a utility, for example, who will be in a position to say, gas that I buy from this country is dirtier than gas that I buy from this other country, maybe I'll start to change my habits. Maybe I will apply a penalty to the dirty producer. So there's also a commercial aspect to this as well. So the discussions we've had with our anchor customer, price actually was not the so much of the sticking point. They recognize that this is important, and the clients that we talk to are very large companies. So this is definitely not breaking the bank for them.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Christian, and thank you, Jerry, as well. So we are now moving forward with our third contestant, called Lavatech. And Lavatech will be represented by Tatiana Zarateskaya, who is the CEO and co-founder of the company. Tatiana, are you here? All right. She is now just yet tuning in with us, and she'll be here in 1 minute. So what did I miss about Tatiana? So she's tuning in from the United States of America. Would be interesting to find out which state, because obviously it's night now there. We'll figure it out soon. And after Lavatech pitch, we are going to have 3 more companies. So up next can already start preparing. We'll go live. EO company from Germany. Okay, Lavatech is in the studio. Tatiana, do you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep, indeed. So what time is it now?
Perfect. It's 5 a.m. at the moment.
Great. The dedication is there. So Jerry should give you plus points for that. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Tatiana, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Lavatech. So currently, the biggest problem is that a lot of outdoor farming is moving indoors due to various reasons: the shortage of land, the pollution of land and air, and so on, logistics reasons. And for any indoor farm, the biggest cost is the price of energy consumption for artificial lighting and climate control. Takes 98% of the energy bill. We have developed a system that helps to reduce that number significantly. So our system consists of lighting module, processing module, and data acquisition module. Lighting module is, we can customize it very easily with zero effort or any monitoring involvement from our side. Then we have the processing module that includes a wireless network capability and connects the lamp to all the nodes in a single gateway for remote control. And it also can precisely control all the lighting conditions. And it also has an advanced sensor data processing and works standalone. So it can make decisions itself. And then with data acquisition module, it connects to all the sensors within the facility, like CO2, humidity, temperature, and so on. And then also our camera. And after that, it goes to our neural networks, and machine learning basically helps us to show the very efficient light recipes for each and every plant. That way, we are able to save a lot of energy and same time predict if there are any instabilities within the facility, like plant illness or any types of pollutions. The very unique feature of our system is that there are different types of biochemical processes and cyclic stages for the plants. And we are specifically able to control light and dark phases of the photosynthesis, which happens in nano to milliseconds. And within the pulsation from the lamp, we control at the moment 8 different parameters. That way, we are able to decrease energy consumption by up to 75% from LED light systems and same time increase yield. Our data right now shows around 23-24% increase in yield, but we believe that we can have that number higher, around up to 40%. If we're talking about our business model, we provide light as a service. So we provide access to our software, hardware, database based on a monthly fee and the size of the facility. We charge per square meter. The market is really big. The indoor farming market gonna hit over 170 billion within the next several years, and we are specifically targeting the indoor farming tech market, which is gonna be over 40 billion within the next 2 years, because we believe we can have quite a high stake at that market. Currently, we have customers and pilots running in 5 different countries, and we quite a clear go-to-market strategy. As you can see, for example, this is one of our pilot customers. We were able to grow kohlrabi for them 3 and 4 times cheaper than competing systems on the market. Valoy is the biggest grow light producer in Europe, for example. I have 3 more co-founders. 2 of them have chemical and electrical engineering background and have over 20 years of experience each in the industry. And then my 4th co-founder comes from business side of things, and he has over 12 years of experience in B2B marketing, and he has been leading marketing for the biggest clean tech hardware startup in Estonia previously. Myself, I'm included into Forbes Under 30 this year, and I'm scholar of UN and OCC. We have a very strong team with 5 PhDs on board. This is not the whole team anymore. We have more people. We have expertise clearly in artificial intelligence, in machine learning, in computer science, biology, research, sales, business, and finance. We're really well-rounded. Our advisors and angel investors, for example, include co-founder and CTO of Tesla and senior director of Salesforce. We won various awards all around the world, and we've been supported by EAT Food and EAT Climate Kick. And we've also been recognized as the best AgTech startup in Israel last year. We are also working with several universities, for example, Israel Institute of Technology, Technion, and Tallinn University of Technology, and have official agreements with various partners. And if we're talking about our pipeline, currently our customers would result in 100K ARR, and then we already have over 25 LOIs signed, which would result in around 2 million ARR. We just need to start the full-scale production, and we are pretty much done with that. And then we are in discussion with more companies. Thank you so much for your attention, and I would be very happy to answer your questions.
Thank you very much, Tatiana. I had a question regarding to the light control and the different spaces that that you can grow. So this is very specific as far as I know. So do you have an agronome in the team? How do you come to the best control for different spaces?
Okay, so yes, we have biologists on the team, obviously, and we also have chemists on the team. And chemists on the team are actually more important than biologists because all the reactions that happen within the plant are chemical reactions. And that's why we're so unique, because we are able to play around with those chemical reactions. And to the control of the speed, firstly, as I said, we can customize the lamp with basically zero effort from our side. And then as for dark and light phases of the photosynthetic process, we are doing a pre-research on them, and we are uploading that data in the system. And with our control unit, it is very, very easy to customize the light recipe. And as I said, the data that we are taking from the sensors and camera, it is processed by our AI, and it gives out the very specific light recipe for each and every plant, and it takes into account also different variables from the indoor farming facility. Because, for example, the CO2 level or humidity level will strongly affect the light recipe for each plant. I'm not even talking about species. I'm also talking the stage of growth of the plant and so on. So that's the whole point of the system, that we are highly customizable with zero effort from the grower.
Well, Tatiana, you are
Thank you.
in such a POC mode right now and pilot mode. So how do you plan to sell? Direct sales, through partners? What kind of partners to think about?
Okay, so as for our sales plan, we are planning to start selling directly. Firstly, we are working with vertical farming, because vertical farming doesn't have access of outdoor lighting, and also it's quite a new area, so they're really open to take new technologies on board, and they're actually specifically searching for them. And after that, we're going to go to different areas like insect protein, normal greenhouse facilities, and anything that actually can grow plants with photosynthetic process. We don't care if it's flowers, cannabis, or anything like that. It doesn't really matter for us, unless it's plants. And yes, we are planning to find partners who would be able to sell the technology for us in the future. For example, the companies that build the greenhouses or vertical farms. And I can't really disclose the name online, but we signed a contract with one very big corporate that is dealing with cameras and light control, and we would be able to move our system and sales forward through them.
Do you have any proprietary IP on this technology, on the different parts of the technology?
Yes, we have already one patent pending. We're going to have 3 more within the next couple of weeks. And in general, we are planning to create quite a strong IP strategy, including our designs, because the way we locate, for example, camera is very unique. And because of that, we are able to collect so much data, and the data of that quality. And also with cameras, we are not only going to be able, our cameras basically create a 3D image of each and every plant. So with that, we can collect really a lot of data on the plant growth and plant development. And same time with our cameras, the new feature that is rolling out by the end of this year going to be that we will be able to track on site how much energy and what kind of energy each and every plant consumes, and what energy it gives back, so we can fine tune our system even more. It's very, very cool. I can't go into detail again online because our CTO gonna kill me. But I would be very happy to show demo to you.
Okay, great.
And have Samsung, for example, or the big company, for example, Philips, who works on LED, contact you or engage some discussion with you concerning the product?
Yes, they have, and not only them. A couple of very basically leading AgTech players been contacting us already like 8-9 months ago about the acquisition, but I don't think that we are yet at that point where we would want to do that. And as I said, we've signed one corporate agreement already that I think going to be incredibly beneficial for us.
Thank you so much, Tatiana, for tuning in this early. We appreciate it. And we are now moving forward to our fourth startup of the full list of contestants, and it is going to be Live.io. And Live.io will be represented by their co-founder, Sven Prizvara, joining us from Germany. Sven, do you hear us? Okay, Sven is also trying to tune in. And up next can already prepare a startup called Rated Power, who will be... Okay, cool. So Rated Power, you're up next, and now we are joining live from Germany with Live.io.
I hope you can hear me. Can someone confirm,
yes,
please?
Hi, we can hear you and we can see you. Go ahead.
Perfect. Thank you very much, first of all, for this opportunity. So you already heard today something about satellite data. I'm now going to tell you how satellite data really can transform maintenance processes and can really help utilities on a global scale. Imagine that you're sitting at home during a storm and suddenly the lights go out. One reason for this could be, and even the most probable one, that a tree fall into the overhead line or a tree grew into the overhead line and then resulted in a power outage. But not only this can be caused by vegetation next to electrical grid, but also wildfires. In California alone, during the last 6 years, more than 1,500 wildfires were caused by electrical grids from PG&E. So it's a massive problem, and utilities around the globe spend a lot of money, a lot of effort on maintaining vegetation next to their grids. In the US alone, more than $6 billion are spent on this annually. And this is the case also for utilities in Europe. In general, more than 40 million kilometers of infrastructure grids, of oil and gas pipelines, electrical grids, and railway systems need to be maintained regarding external threats because they are really the backbone of our modern society. Because of this, utilities really have processes in place and spend a lot of money on monitoring these infrastructure grids and then maintaining them. Unfortunately, these processes are really old-fashioned. For example, people walk alongside these grids, they fly alongside these grids, or they drive alongside these grids, with obviously flying being the fastest option of them all. But still, if you want to monitor tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of kilometers of, for example, overhead lines, that's a very, very expensive endeavor. Luckily, we have seen the revolution of Earth observation during the last few years. We see hundreds of satellites in orbit monitoring every place on Earth. So the Earth is really becoming digital. And with this, every outdoor asset on the surface of the Earth is becoming digital as well. What we do at Live.io is we combine satellite data from a multitude of operators. We harmonize this data. We apply our machine learning models to them. And then we provide utilities with the information they need. For example, where the infrastructure grid is exposed to external threats such as vegetation. But we don't stop there. We provide this information directly into the systems to really change work processes. The first thing, and one of the things which we're monitoring, is ground deformation underneath of railway tracks. Another thing is third-party interactions next to pipelines, and we can monitor with weekly frequency if construction sites are building up. And obviously, we are monitoring vegetation next to electric grids and railway systems. But if you monitor 10,000 kilometers of overhead lines, just a nice visualization doesn't really help you to transform your business processes. This is what we are doing. We're breaking this information down really into actionable tasks. So we're making this information really actionable, and we're providing the management with a web app which helps them to take informed decisions, and we're providing the people in the field with a mobile app to really act more efficiently. We have integrations into asset management systems such as SAP, Infra, and so on. and provide overall statistics as well as tasks to the people in the right position. The Utility Arborists Association in the US estimates that more than 60% of vegetation management costs can be saved that way. And to sum it up in one sentence, what we do is we translate Earth observation for utilities. And it already shows really its transformational potential with companies which we're working with, such as Deutsche Bahn, the biggest transportation company of Europe, E.ON, where we implemented our solution since beginning of last year, and also 40% of Germany's pipeline operators. And this is just the beginning. We currently, and have seen over the past 2 years, a really big growth in our solution, and really now are scaling it immensely in all verticals and in a multitude of geographies. So right now we have a sales office here in Germany, and with our next round, we're going to open up one on the US East Coast. But already we're currently in talks with utilities which operate more than 3 million kilometers of infrastructure grid with more than 60 million assets. All of this is really made happen by an incredible team of around 25 people. My co-founder and I, we both have an aerospace background, and we know what's coming up next in terms of satellite data. Our tech team is led by David, who has a PhD in machine learning and who we hired directly from Morgan Stanley. And our business team is led by Stefan, who worked more than 10 years in the energy sector in consulting. During the last 2 years, we raised 2.7 million euros in funding. On the one hand side, from via equity, from DVH Ventures. On the other hand side, we are supported strongly by the European Space Agency as well as German governmental institutions. But right now, we are raising our Series A. For what? To really bring infrastructure grid monitoring to every utility worldwide. And winning the NEC challenge would really help us on this way. So if you are interested to learn more about the benefits from Earth observation insights, if you want to know how your utility can keep OPEX low and reliability and safety high, or if you would like to if you are interested in our funding round, I would love to talk to you. And now I'm happy to answer all your questions. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Maybe I'll jump in first with a question. I mean, this is, again, a very nice use of space technology to make an impact on core infrastructure. My simple question is, you're not the first company to figure this out. So how are you going to outcompete people, and who do you see the competition to be?
Yeah, so first of all, thanks. We see it the same way. Satellite data really enables a lot of use cases. What we believe is that we have two key advantages. One advantage is that we have proven to do this with Deutsche Bahn. We've done this now since 3 years. Each year, we've monitored for them more than 20,000 miles or 33,000 kilometers. We have analyzed 80,000 kilometers of overhead lines in a week. So we have a full end-to-end architecture. And not only have proven our technology in a small POC, such as a lot of our competitors, but really we have scaled it. So we have a competitive edge right now. And with our strong focus on complete automation, what we currently are able to do is really deliver the customer's insight already when we're starting to talk to them. The competition is out there. There are some startups which are followers. We have started in 2018, raised a round of 1.5 million beginning of last year. And now, again, we're trying to advance this edge with our next funding round. There are big players like IBM, which is also in this market. We had a face-off, I think it's called, with them. And our competition, as far from my point of view, has a lot of advantages. It's much more flexible and can be integrated with any kind of asset management system. So people don't have to switch to IBM, for example. So we really see ourselves very well positioned to be the global market leader. That's our goal. And this is really what we're working on every day.
You have just mentioned your USP, which is based upon having end-to-end solution for the vegetation management. And especially was interesting for me that you've got the task list for the teams responsible for the field work on the daily basis. And is it used in that way by your current clients? So they've got the list for their teams in the field, do this, do that.
Yeah, very good question. So in the beginning, when we started LiveEO, what we were able to produce was this big overview over where our problems are occurring. But then we recognized that people can't really work with this. So we broke it down into these action items, which you just described. And right now, we're rolling out in parallel with 3 big utilities and infrastructure grid operators, where people really in the field have an iOS app, have an Android app, and also equip all their subcontractors with this kind of interface, so that not only the utility is equipped with this task list, but also the subcontractors. So we have rolled this out, and people are using this task list to better structure their work. Yes.
All right. Thank you.
One question: you sell self-use services where you sell a platform, software, and utilities, then apply that over their network, try to identify potential vegetation issues, or you do that work for the utilities? At the end of the day, are you a consultancy firm or are you a software company?
We are absolutely 100% software firm. We have an interface. The only thing is obviously in the sales process, we get the information where the network is. For example, where the EDP network is, we plug this in our system. It runs through, and then employees from EDP or any other utility are provided with our tool set and our software. And so the utility obviously buys to use our software. So we are pure software play. And obviously in the beginning, it's a normal enterprise sales process. We just need some input from the customer, but from that point onwards, it's all self-service. Everyone can use it in the field. And for example, EDP, like overall Portugal, hundreds of people would be equipped with our tool sets to improve the vegetation management process. Yeah.
And you tell to the utility, look, you have a vegetation problem here, or you also provide information that you identified the type of vegetation and then apply a growth model, and you tell, look, in 6 months, we are going to have a problem there.
So that's also something which we're doing, but the more growth models and the longer the time period is in which you try to predict growth, obviously, because it's nature, what we're dealing with, it can differ from the reality. So we have this, and this is also part, it's a plugin in our tool set. But what our solution also offers is really to flag areas where people have to conduct an inspection to, for example, plan the next trimming process, and they can put this information into our system. And with this, our system gets better and better. And with these data points, we can train our machine learning model also to get better and better over time. Growth methods are part of it, but the other part of it is how do you really digest information collected from people on site, so that also in 5 and 10 years, people can go back and see what previously people have done on site, and also to further improve our machine learning model.
Awesome. Thank you, Sven. And also the judges. So we are now moving forward with our 5th startup, straight from Spain. We'll be representing Teresa De Juan, who is the Business Development Associate at Rated Power. Teresa, are you with us? Okay, so no one is with us today. Okay, cool.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Go ahead and start.
Did you know that solar energy is the fastest growing energy source on the planet? And do you know what it actually takes to build a solar plant like this? Well, we know because we used to do it. Hi everyone, I'm Teresa De Juan and I'm business developer at Rated Power. We are on a mission to accelerate the energy transition. Let me tell you our story. Our 3 co-founders worked for several years developing solar plants all over the world. To get just one project done, they had to spend hours and hours analyzing different topography, the civil configuration, calculating formulas and algorithms, generating drawings and reports, hundreds of pages. For every minor change, they had to repeat the whole process all over again and again and again. It's a painful working experience. So one day they got together and thought, could this whole process be streamlined? Yes, it could, and so we did. We developed a comprehensive software package that, by scanning millions of iterations, it instantly optimized the solar plant design and generate all the engineering documentation. We transformed 6 weeks of work into only 2 minutes. This decreased the cost of energy generated by 5%, which translates into 20% higher profitability. This is our software, PV Design. It's very easy to use. Our customers just have to upload the project location, select some equipment and criteria, and in just a few seconds, they can see and download all the engineering documentation. Our customers are every player through the solar industry. We cover the whole value chain. This equates to a $5 billion market. Our business model is based on annual subscriptions. We are a software as a service, and we give our customers a 14-day free trial before purchasing. So now, let's talk about our amazing team. We are based in Madrid, the world's hub for solar energy, and we make a very multidisciplinary team of 27 people with people from more than 10 countries. And half of the team are women, which is quite unusual in the energy and engineering industries. Our 3 co-founders work the bulk of their careers in the industry, and they've been working together for the last 9 years. In the last few months, we've received big awards. We obtained the phase 2 of the Horizon 2020 European Commission grant, which means almost 2 million euros to continue developing our product. And we also were named as one of the top energy innovators by the World Energy Council and the German Energy Agency. In just 3 years, we launched our software. We simulated more than 1,000 gigawatts, which we like to say equals to more than 500 years of work in a traditional engineering company. And most amazing part, we have over 65 customers. Sungrow were the last to join. PV Design has been used in more than 100 countries, and we want to become the leading software to design solar plants by 2021. We reached break-even 4 months after founding, and although we are already cash flow positive, we want to become the standard in an industry that is doubling its size every 2 years. But this, it's just the beginning. We believe in a future, the same future that our customers believe in, which is not just about solar. We see solar, wind, and storage in integrated systems. And that's where we are headed. We will be the de facto standard of the industry, and we have the right technology to do it. The energy of the future needs the engineering of the future. It needs PV Design. Thank you very much, and I will be glad to answer your questions.
Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you. Oops, sorry.
Okay.
Really cool presentation, Teresa. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You heard it? One question with regard to the hybrid power plants you mentioned at the very end. So first, a great idea for the solar parks and also great traction. What about the hybrid PV, so storage and solar plants system you wanna build? Where do you stand there?
Excuse me, I couldn't hear you. If we want to move also to storage?
Yes, exactly. So where do you stand with the solution for hybrid power plants, solar and storage?
Okay, perfect. So, we started developing our software in 2017, and at the beginning, we covered like a small part of the design process of solar plants. So we started like by the layout. And for us, our goal is like to give the best comprehensive software to our clients and to cover all the design, engineering, and optimization processes in the solar plant design. So we have continued evolving. We made our own energy model. We launched, for example, the engineering for the substation. And although now we haven't offered any storage model, we have currently a team who is working on it, and we think we will move towards that next year. And we'll probably have some news regarding that in 6 months, more or less.
Okay. So you've mentioned that, and you showed us that several of multidisciplinary team in comparison to a few seconds to minutes, which it takes using PV design. Am I right? Yes. But PV design also needs to be fed with all data. So it also takes time, and probably these are not seconds or minutes. So how it practically works in construction office, in engineering office?
Yeah, well, we say multidisciplinary teams because actually our software currently covers different phases. It covers like the topography analysis, the civil analysis, the electrical analysis, the equipment selection, soon the financial part. So that's why we say that, because before, well, normally in the traditional engineering companies, it's a lot of different teams which are coordinated who do that. So what we do is like assembling that in a software which generates all the documentation in just a few seconds. We say that, but of course, that to select the equipment and criteria takes like a bit more time. It depends on the person, of course, but normally it can take maybe like the first design that you are carrying out, it can take like 30 minutes or 20 minutes, just like to select the different configuration. And then in X design, you can like in just 1 second, like clone that design, for example, and change some parameter and try to get best results and try to design your plant with the best possible criteria, equipment, orientation. So that's basically what I was trying to say. I don't know if you understand correctly or didn't I?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
I move.
One last question.
Maybe you can just explain a little bit more about your revenue model, because there may be some of us that think, oh, you get paid on design and you never see any more revenue from the customer again. But I'm sure you've thought that through to figure out how to get more more revenue over time. So maybe just to help us understand that a bit more.
Perfect. Yeah, we are based on an annual subscription model. So just to give you like some insights about it, when we launched our software, as it covered, like, for example, the design part, and it was like the scope was tinier. Our clients were paying annual subscriptions from 3,000 euros to 15,000 euros per year. Now we are on the second version of PV design, and as we are covering really more engineering processes, our clients are paying annually from 15,000 euros to 60,000 euros. And in all our annual subscriptions, we offer our customers unlimited users and unlimited simulations per project. So, for example, among our clients, we have BayWa or Engie, and they are currently using our software in their different subsidiaries, and it's helping their different teams to work like in a collaborative environment. And basically is that our clients are the companies, and we charge per company, not per user.
Cool. Thank you so much, Teresa, for taking the questions from the jury. And now we are ready to move on to our last contestant, named TruckNet. And TruckNet company will be represented by their CEO and founder, Hanan Friedman, straight from Israel. Hanan, are you with us in the studio? Or not yet? Yes, this is how we... Okay, cool. Hanan, we
Yes,
don't
you
see
hear me?
you. We can hear you, but we don't see you.
Because I start to share maybe early. Now
So
you
we
can
saw-
see me?
We saw the presentation before. Now we see you, but not the presentation. So put on the presentation and you're good to go.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Hanan. I'm from Israel, with the city in the name Elat. And you see now my presentation?
Yes, Hanan, all good.
Okay, let's talk about TruckNet. TruckNet is an intelligent platform for logistica and transportation industry. Before we start, we need to understand how this market work today, this industry. Let's say the truck go from Paris to Lyon, we leave there a cargo, and then we go to Grenoble. It's like something like 150, maybe 200 kilometers. And from Grenoble, we take another cargo back to Paris. The situation is the 35% of the road is empty. This is a situation that most of the company have, and they know how to live with that. And they're not so excited because that. The reason that it's happening is very simple. Most of the company make today in-house fleet optimization. It means there is someone that management the fleet. In the time that he management the fleet, he have to take care to the client, traffic on the road, an issue that he have all the day. In that situation, he don't have enough attention to take care about the optimization because most of the day he busy how to finish the day in the time. If we look all over the world, this is the statistica from all over the world about the empty truck on the road. And like you see, USA 36%, Europe 27%, Asia 40%. It means that 27 in Europe, 27% of the truck on the road that we see every day, they are empty. And we understand from that this market is really an inefficiency. We can see that from the economy aspect and environmental aspect. We can see that on the traffic on the road, 35% of bad accident with truck, and about the carbon emission. I don't know if you know that 20% of the carbon emission come from the transportation and logistica industry. And we speak about huge number. This is the number, but just to understand that one truck make like 10,000 miles for months, and she create 60 tons of emission. Just to understand the number in the global and the number of one truck. We create a system that we call ourselves intelligent platform for logistica and transportation and automatic cross-company ride optimization. What is mean intelligent? Today when we buy a new car, we have a system that supports the driver in the way, if you go fast, if you go to the left, to the right, you have alarm. And about the fleet management, about the manager of the fleet that take care about thousands of trucks every day, he don't have any system that can support him in every decision that he takes. And we create a software that connects to his TMS, and in the day, we are all the time check the way that he make the optimization and try to bring to him a better optimization. But we do that with cross-company ride optimization. And let's understand how it's works. But before that, I want to give you a little knowledge about TruckNet. We are 40 employers. We start in 2016. We are connected today to 500,000 trucks, something like 5,000 companies in Europe, with full integration with the telematics system and TMS system, and we get the data. We have a great partnership in Europe, like you see, with the important telematics system, with full integration, and from the other side, with the big logistical company, a group like Groupe La Poste in France, CMCGM, some big ship company, because we need to connect from the ship that come to the port to the truck that come for the last mile. We have integration with the Air France too, cargo that come from the air. We are connected to the last mile service with the truck. But everything is connected in one system. This is our vision milestone that we do until today, and we want to be located in all Europe until 2025. It's not only about to make cross-company optimization. It means to make cross-country optimization, because if we are big, we can give a better solution for optimization and contact from a transportation company to country to country. We have couples of very important pilots that we make today with the Army in Israel, Post-France, Post-Israel, SNCF, Chronopost. And in the end of the day, our solution is automatic match technology. Today, the market provides couples of solutions.
Hanan, you have left 5 seconds.
Sorry?
You have left only 5 seconds for the pitch. And
okay, all the solution today is a solution that not automatic. It's like marketplace. And our solution is automatic solution that can support the manager and to the fleet, and he don't need to make a surge and try to find a better optimization. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now we are moving to the questions part.
I have a question. Hi, I have a question concerning the barrier to entry, because you are not a hardware provider, it's a software solution and you connect with company. So why you and another one can do the same? So why you are different?
This is a very important question. What I say in the end of the pitch, that we are a automatic match. Today, you have in the market some solution, but all the solution that you have to find the solution for the empty mile, it has to be manual. TruckNet solution is automatic solution. We are connect to the company. We looking inside the planning of them. It's called TMS, and we found a better solution for optimization in automatic way. The manager of the fleet don't need to go to different system to find the solution. It's like one-stop shop for all the solution in one system.
Sorry, whom do you consider to be the biggest competitor? Because as you've just said, there are many solutions for manufacturer, freight forwarder, road haulier, and so on and so on. For example, Timocom in Europe. I have just come across such solution where the USP is described in the pretty same way as you've just told us. So, where is the main USP of the solution of TruckNet?
Timocom is trade exchange. It's like Bourse, and you have there a right. This is not the idea about TruckNet. TruckNet is a system with AI that can see online the way that you manage your fleet and give you a better solution. Timocom, Chronotrack, and company like that, it's like a marketplace. You go inside and you try to find for you a better solution. It's not system that can change the decision that you take online. We are the only system that connect to the TMS with our AI and with BI that we create, a machine learning, and then we can change some of the decision that you take. It means maybe you have now optimization, and because Timocom and Chronotrack and all what you say, you have 35% empty of the fleet. But maybe sometimes we can change because we have a lot of data that come from a lot of place, and we change the decision of the manager of the fleet. And something that's very important, we are the only one that may calculate emission online to the company to save emission about every ride.
Okay, Hannah, thank you.
Maybe a COVID question for you, which is, are you seeing more interest in your software because people are paying more attention to their supply chain and looking for in their supply chains?
What we see today, that if we look about the last year, we see that really 500,000 trucks connect to our system. And then what's happening now, we see that a lot of supply chain and factory and user, we call that logistica company, they start to connect to our system because they understand that this is the way to save emission and to save money. Because everything is about data, and the data today in our industry is huge. And only system that connect all this data can win in the end of the day. And that's what's important. You have to understand the situation. You have data from the road. You have data from the truck. You have data from the marketplace. You have data from the factory. You have data from different logistica company and different transportation company. And only automatic machine with AI can management that data to the best optimization. Because in the end of the day, we cannot say nothing. 27% of the truck empty in Europe, 36% empty in USA. We need to find a solution. And I don't know, in the end, you understand that this is the best solution from the side that I understand.
All right. Thank you so much, Hanan, for your time. And thank you, judges, for the questions. This pretty much wraps up our pitch competition for the vertical of AI and automation. So first of all, I want to wish best of luck to all the pitching companies, not only in this new Energy Challenger competition, but also with their products and finding their market fits and, of course, raising their next rounds. So all the best luck to you guys. So I believe our jury has all the information needed in order to cast their votes for the final finalist of this segment, and we are going to reveal the winner on the closing ceremony of our summit, which is going to happen on Friday. So stay tuned for more information on that. And also one small victory I can give to Lavatech, because you guys are the audience's favorite in terms of all pitching startups. So congratulations. Now we are moving on with our last panel of the day in this category specifically. So I will be yet again joined by Rokas here, who has been on the stage more times than I can remember. So please welcome the partner and founding partner from Contrarian Ventures, Rokas, as well as Rob Denisier, who is the managing partner at ATF Partners. And also we'll be joined by Margot Shabrir, who is the investment analyst at Demeter, and last but not last, Ulrich Seis, who is the managing director at BWA Energy Ventures. So guys, please take the virtual stage.
Hi guys, good to see you. Familiar faces. Hope you're doing well. So we're connecting from all around the places. So Ulrich is probably in Germany, Margot is in France, and you, Rob, in UK. Hope everyone is safe and everything is doing well. So today's topic is quite an interesting one, actually. I think we've been discussing a lot of different topics through the summit over the last 4 days, and I think one of the other panels that I was moderating, we spoke a lot about scalable business model and software sort of eating the energy world, and I think AI and automation is probably a topic that is the most scalable and the most software-ish in the kind of whole universe of energy tech and mobility. So I kind of want to, dive deeper a bit into the automation and AI topic through the lenses of whether you think this from an investment standpoint as VCs. What's the most exciting space in that? I know some of your portfolio companies, and there's a wide array of applications from predictive maintenance, last mile logistic optimization. What's the most exciting space for you? Maybe starting with Rob.
Well, I think the good news is there are a few exciting spaces. If you look at the last question I asked of the panel or on the jury that we were on, I asked about the effects of COVID, and one of the obvious conclusions coming out of the pandemic is that we need to spend more money, more resources on the push to digital, and in addition to that, we're more interested in things like resilience today, like never before. So we need resilience in our supply chains. We need resilience in our society. So a combination of the push to digital and the desire to have, I think, better data, resilient data, more information that we can act on is encouraging us to look at things like AI like never before. I think the one thing that I always caution us is that as we look at AI, and I think a number of the companies that we just saw talked about AI, it's a very easy term to throw around. It's a very easy term to suggest that you can manipulate, that you can use, that you have the expertise on staff. In reality, very few people actually are real AI experts and can use that tool to the betterment of their business models. And I think there was a fundamental debate that goes around, which is, is it the deep minds of the world that will do very well as they deploy AI technology, or is it going to be specialists that really understand a specific vertical? And to your question, Rokas, I think you'll see lots of different AI true experts sitting in various verticals that are able to create very interesting business models. So I don't think it's unique to any vertical. I think ultimately it's going to be unique to the quality of your team and their understanding of the problem they're being asked to solve.
Great, thanks a lot for the answer. Ulrich, you were looking at a specific part of the energy, which is solar industry, as part of BayWa business strategically. What does AI mean to you? What has been meant from your investment perspective? Because you have quite a few companies that use machine learning and supervised and unsupervised machine learning in their products. What's been exciting for you?
Yeah, very good question, Lucas. So first of all, we're not only looking into the solar space, we invest and look in the whole energy field. And if I think about the most important AI topics here for me, at the top is energy flexibility, to understand demand and response, to be able to predict it and to balance the grid. Also data security, privacy and validity of data is a very important matter here. And the empowerment of customers to better understand their energy usage patterns. We are at BayWa RE, we see the most fits with startups who are helping our service department to be basically better at what they are doing, dealing with the data security, and to understand the patterns behind that. So I think this is the most important and most promising investment field based on AI, or at least many times based on AI, we are looking into.
Margot, what's your take from Demeter side of things and more broader your portfolio and as well experience that you've seen in the industry or looking at the moment?
Yes, so I pretty agree with the guys. For example, we invest on DeepKey. Maybe you know this startup. They analyze the real estate facilities building, and they improve their energy and their electricity side. But I think the most important each investor in based on a sector. For example, we see some pitches with the truck and the transport part, also with energy part. But if we recall and we just put together all the insight in all value chain and all sector we address, we will be able to analyze completely all the carbon footprint, for example, of the whole company. And I think it's a huge challenge today. I'm sure that every investment fund faces deal that today we and big company want to know and to track their CO2 emission. And for that, we need data. That data is the heart of everything. And we will be able to have data and accumulate it with this kind of solution, specialized in each part of the company.
So my next question, I think, Rob, you touched upon a very, very interesting topic, specialists versus generalists. And to kind of simplify the thing, let's put it out, the generalist is being Google's, Microsoft's, and Amazon's of this world, which probably have the largest data pools in the world. Most of the big data AI companies in the energy sector, in a nutshell, are B2B focused companies. And as you said, highly specialized. Given the amount of R&D that goes into the likes of Google and Amazon, do you think startups have a chance to compete in the long term on these business models applied to B2B problems? Or you think that, in general, all you speakers, like, do you think, do one day we're going to have a supercomputer like Super AI that could be completely completely non-specialized applications, and that computer can be applied in any B2B solving problem? What's your take on that? I think
Well, Rokas, I've been doing this for a while. So, when the browser came out that Netscape created, people couldn't beat Netscape. And then Yahoo beat them, then Google beat them. So there will always be the next new thing. I'm not really worried about that. I think the key really, though, is probably for these young companies is to grab a core of excellence, right? You mentioned AI. You don't need one AI guy. You probably need 10 to 15, right? You need to have them stick together. You need to have them resist the temptation to go work for the Googles of the world and be, desirous of creating something better and more exciting. And I think while there are opportunities to do that, you always find entrepreneurs who are willing to take that risk in return for the big opportunity and to create the new thing. So frankly, I'm not worried about that. The other thing is that we live in a world, of course, where people might suggest that there is only one company, like a Google. In reality, there are lots of big partners that a small startup can play with, right? If Google is your enemy, go find Microsoft this week and use them as a partner to market, et cetera. So I don't think the world is so black and white that it's either big company or small. I think the small ones have to be nimble. They have to find the right partners. They have to keep their teams together. They have to work on real problems that somebody's going to pay for. They have to figure out how to get in front of customers, right? I think a number of companies that we just saw, that's one of their biggest challenges. How do you get to be credible in front of large customers? If you can solve that, why not? I mean, you can do some great things.
What's your take on that, Ulrich?
So if we see the startups as the specialists, I still think I'm 100% convinced that the most innovative ideas are brought into the market from startups. That's my clear thinking. That's also why I'm in that industry, because this is very exciting to be the first mover in some fields. But as in most fields and most of the times, I guess the big leap or the big broad market acceptance will then come from the generalists from Google, Microsoft, and so on and so forth. They just buy those interesting companies. Hopefully we all have a very decent exit with them, and then they will make the big money at the end.
I think that's a good touch point. I think the panel's topic was, where do we find the next unicorns? And it seems in the industry, in energy industry as per se, there's been a lot of acquisitions, but there hasn't been really these so-called unicorns popping right and left. Do you think so? That's because companies at some stage realize that they cannot scale at that pace, given that it's a B2B market, and again, there are some obstacles to really grow into a super large enterprise SaaS company, for example, because you then have to focus on other sectors, or do you think there's so much synergies with the bigger guys that we mentioned that they choose that path? What's kind of your take on that generally, and what you've seen from your portfolios and maybe more established companies that have been around for a block for over 10 years, like ETF and Demeter, can relate to that?
Yes. So, for example, we invested in Envelio. It's a supporter of you event, and we observe, but not only with this kind of company, because the energy sector, there is a lot of big companies, such as, for example, Schneider Electric, ENGIE, E.ON, EDP. So a lot of actors, and it's hard for small startup to transform their poke into the industrialization process. There is a lot of good solution, good of actor, as we just saw in the pitch, but to scale and to really be in charge of different business unit and different and the whole company, like the old Schneider Electric, is very hard, because most of the time big company developed with the help of the startup a solution in their company and don't make very confidence in a small solution to develop for the whole company.
So, Rokas, I think you've hit on a significant issue, which is that the utility industry historically was very conservative. And in the 2000s, if you went to see a CEO of a major utility, they would immediately explain to you why they didn't want renewables on their grid. And obviously, the world has changed very quickly from that period. But if you were a startup back in the 2000s, into the 2012s, it was very difficult because you also had the financial crisis going on. So I think we're fundamentally in a very different world today, where the utilities understand they need to change, they need to embrace innovation. They are looking more to startups. So I think the opportunities going forward are much bigger than the opportunities of 15 years ago. So that's the first observation. The second point to make is I'm a little less concerned about unicorn chasing. I'm more interested in finding good businesses that can grow quickly, that don't require a lot of money, and can become emerging champions. And I think if you want to look at industrial technology companies, even around Europe, there are some very good companies, like your Hexagons of the world, your Halmas of the world, et cetera, that people pay no attention to, but have $20 billion market caps, right? And so I guess my point is there's no reason we can't have leaders in the space. Some may go into the billion-dollar valuations. Again, I'm less worried about that, but we as venture capital should be able to make nice returns off of them.
Ulrich, any observation on that end as well?
I think most of it has been said. So overall, I see a problem with valuations in the market. Valuations tend to get higher now with COVID. Of course, there was a big drop in valuations. Some of this drop we can already see. Other parts of it are hidden because investors tend to take care of their existing portfolio companies with internal rounds. So I think most of the downshift in valuations we don't see yet. But overall, I still think we need to be careful with the valuations, because it is the case what we see in the energy market is that there is not really so much potentials for so many unicorns. The markets are fragmented. We have national regulations. It's very easy to start in a niche in comparison with other industries, I would say. It's easy to find in a niche a USP, but to get out of that niche and make a big business out of it internationally is very, very difficult. And this is why I have strong doubts if we will see unicorns in Europe in the energy sector.
This is a great touch point that you touched upon. Actually, I want to kind of lean this discussion towards that. I think you, Rob, mentioned that as well, that a lot of the early stage companies at the very beginning start with actually being specialized. But does not that become really sort of the problem for them eventually? They got so good at a very specific problem, which is very specific to the energy industry or that application use case. How you go from sort of from this super focus to specialization in the context of AI, for example. You can start optimization tool for wind turbine. I was modding in the previous panel, for example, Jungle AI. They do specific application of AI. However, how do you scale that company from being now at Series A to go to build a 100 million enterprise SaaS solution, optimizing all the assets? Because at each step, you're going to need to sort of tailor-made the product, and then eventually you'll have so many different products in your offering. How do you think about that? And maybe relating to your portfolio that you invested some time ago and now has managed to go of a specific application to a large-scale use case, which then makes these companies grow in different verticals.
Well, I think that's a very good question, right? Ultimately, what we're debating is ultimately the size of the market. And can your company go from its point solution to expand into other areas? I find it hard to believe that, I started 25 years ago at Bain working on PG&E, and there were so many problems that needed to be solved, and so many opportunities I would suggest for startups even back then, if they could get that large company to start embracing them. There are some very interesting businesses to be built. I guess what I struggle with is that if I looked at the opportunity within a large utility, there should be ways to land and expand. So I'm not so convinced that you can't find other things to do once you get in there, once you gain the trust of the operator, and you can't figure out more ways to make money. So I think that's a challenge for startups, but I believe fundamentally there is an opportunity around that. If you look at other markets, or if you looked at the other approaches, we just invested in a company that It's 20 AI guys from around Europe sitting working in the world of shipping. Their belief is that they can apply that AI to optimize the routing of ships, what was discussed earlier, understanding how to reduce the carbon emissions of those ships, et cetera. But there's no reason once they don't get good at that vertical that they can't move to other verticals, right? And so I don't see why a company focused on utilities can't do something similar. Again, if their core technology is of interest and can be applied across other industries. So again, if you challenge me and say, okay, give me an example, it's kind of hard, right? And I think that's the challenge of the venture capitalist. That's the challenge of the entrepreneur, is can we go and figure out models like that? But there's no reason they can't happen because they happen in other industries.
Margot, what do you guys are observing from your Demeter portfolio in that respect, in terms of like scalability of different specializations that you have maybe invested in the past, and how they managed to scale it up?
Yes, so I think observing speaking about scalability, first we are venture capital, and our work is to exit in like 5 or 7 years. So yeah, of course, the goal is also to be in a consortium of company that will be able to buy ourselves after all, and to integrate our solution in the global solution of the company. So I think the startups need to very exploit all the potential on a specific branch, because they're gonna be buy after all for this competence and not for the skill of another company. So they really need to scale on this vertical, and after be buy after for this vertical, and to be integrated after all in a big consortium, but not to be so horizontal and focused in different business, because otherwise they are not be specialists and expert on the sector.
Okay. I think Ulrich mentioned a very important topic, probably with regards to broadly COVID, which is again relevant, but more importantly, overall as an industry, venture capital valuations, especially in the AI and automation topic, right? It's been a very, very hot area that everyone is flocking, right, for the same kind of reasons. The big total addressable market, just generally new market created for its own, and then obviously big exit opportunities to clear maybe incumbents or the generalist big companies that are trying to approach this. So my question is very simple. Do you think sometimes when you look at companies, sometimes the AI word is oversold? And we spoke about AI as a word, and I'm more relating even to generally machine learning, supervised or unsupervised, and the use context of it. Because I think sometimes we see applications that, promise, however, underdeliver, or not necessarily are well articulated in what impact they have for the end user. So it could be, we're usually as venture capital funds, and I think Margot mentioned that we're looking to exit companies 7 years at a significant multiple. And those companies have to be high growth companies, meaning they have to grow fast. Therefore, their solutions that they apply have to have not 5% increase in something or a reduction in something, but in times. Do you think generally the word AI or just machine learning has been oversold? And is it fully reflected in the valuations that sometimes these companies come front to us as investors?
Well, I think entrepreneurs have figured out there's certain buzzwords that appeal to certain types of firms. So AI is one of them. If you throw the word autonomous in there, you throw the word SaaS in there, if you avoid words like hardware, you'll do very well in your pitch. And I'm somewhat joking here, but there is a herd mentality, of course, amongst us. And I'm not suggesting that historically we haven't been guilty of that, but we as an industry are always attracted to where big multiples are, where the past deals happen, where we perceive there will be easy wins going forward. And some people are happy chasing that stuff. And some companies like to mold themselves towards that. It's not to criticize, it's just an observation that if you can find the right moniker, it might be easier to raise money this week.
Ulrich, I think that was the very important topic you touched upon. Any thoughts?
I think there will be a comeback of hardware. It seems to be dead, but I like hardware. It's can be patented. It can be a lasting USP for a decent period of time to get a decent market share. Of course, scalability usually is less. Margins are lower, but you definitely have usually a better edge against the competition. And I think there will be a big comeback of hardware companies.
And I think it's a huge work when you invest in a company that speak a lot about AI and machine learning. It's the job of investor to make a real good due diligence, to make real good reference call with a company that I'm working with the solution, to see which part they improve, and also to see, okay, they propose a solution, but on the solution, what is very regarding by the company, because a startup can propose a lot of application, a lot of add-on, but we really need to see, okay, which add-on is useful for the company.
Exactly, yeah.
And yeah.
So flipping the question other side around, more going to the end users of those solutions, do you believe that in the energy industry players, whether that's oil and gas, whether that's electric vehicles, automotives, whether that's utilities, the ones that are not going to adopt this and be lagging this eventually will be the ultimate losers?
Well, I mean, that's
a
what
fact
we as
in a way.
capitalists like to suggest, right? So we like to say, if you don't innovate, you die, and please work with our startups as a result. So we're drinking our own Kool-Aid in that respect.
But is that a reality? I think a lot of people talk about it, though. When it comes to implementation, so many of them fail.
Well, but I mean, again, you have somebody from the German utility industry on the phone, and he's the first probably to acknowledge that if you didn't innovate in the last 10 years, you're in big trouble right now in Germany. So I think what I was going to make a slightly different point, which is, I think that the entrepreneurs of today, and this was just suggested, they shouldn't focus on whether it's hardware or software, right? They should be focusing on what's the problem, what's the solution, and how am I going to be able to sell that? Simple as that. And then I think the point that Ulrich was making is, okay, once I've done that, how do I get somebody to pay a lot of money for it? And the reason we get sucked into this AI debate is we're all convinced that if I invest in these types of companies, somebody's going to pay a huge multiple for it over time. So, focusing on the exit, focusing on how we're going to get there, making sure that there are good buyers that are going to pay nice prices. That's the thing that we as I think VCs have to focus on. On the customer side, obviously, if we can get those innovations into those companies, we stand a greater chance of success. And in the industry, the energy industry, that's been the challenge historically.
Well, from your own stem of experience, I think one of the reasons that you as investors have obviously the capability of providing a use case and implementation as part of BayWa. How has it been working for you guys, and what were the results, and were you happy as a corporate, the other side of corporate, from the results? I know that you've been an evangelist.
That's an excellent question. Sorry.
I know that you've been a big evangelist of all your of all your companies, and obviously you've been doing a lot of work with them internally as well.
Yeah, we do. We try at least wherever it is possible. I mean, this is basically our investment thesis, that if we can bring added value through our business units, then everybody will be happy. The startup, the business unit, and at the end, of course, the venture capital unit as well. It doesn't work all the time, but it usually works. It's not necessary for us to invest, but of course, we love to have that situation. I think in general, it's very important to have the right people with the right mindset in the business units. It doesn't work very well if you have there, I would say, typical corporate guys who are 20 years working in the utility space or something like this, who want to control everything, who don't understand the kind of freedom startup needs, and also the amount of mistakes they are making, they need to understand that those mistakes are happening and that this is part of the process, that those mistakes make the solution better. And we as a company, as a group, we help to make the product better, to get the best product out of it. It's more like a co-development. And I think this is a situation we are definitely having at BayWa as we grew ourselves from like 30, 40 people 10 years ago to 2,500 now. It's fantastic. So the pace and speed we are having internally since so many years is in the DNA of most of the people. So they are very open for innovation, but still they have their own agenda, their own corporate agenda. We have corporate-like structures in the meanwhile. And you need to be careful to talk to the right people. And this is why it's very important that the venture or innovation area is settled directly below the CEO to have the right influence and the right attention to push things through.
Great. I think we're nearing the end of the discussion. I just have a final question, basically food for thoughts, and just shoot whatever you think. It's always a debate, you know. I think Europe as a whole has been to some extent lagging this part of the kind of technology adoption or successful, you know, as Rob said, chasing the unicorns. Do we think Europe being super industrially strong in the back of days, German engineering, UK had massive, other countries like France, etc. Do we think that, you know, these next unicorns, not in a traditional B2C space, could actually be driven from Europe? And how excited you are about the next 5 years that are to come?
Well, as the American on the call by birth,
I'm putting you on the pressure here.
No, but I think it's fair to say Europe has a big advantage, right? Europe's biggest advantage, I think, is that its commitment to a sustainable future. You know, in the United States, we still have Republicans and Democrats fighting about whether climate change is real. And I think if your company is working on next generation technologies as the world moves to a more sustainable world, you know, I think it's a big opportunity for people because whole industries are changing before our eyes, and they're changing first in Europe. So it's a big opportunity for the entrepreneur.
Yes, and I just want to add that regulation, government push company to adopt some rules to be more sustainable, and we are lucky to be part of this movement. And we are also lucky to be able to answer this question and to be not in the war or country that has not the same priority as we are right now. So yes, of course, I'm very optimistic.
Ulrich, final note?
I totally agree. But if you compare Europe, the US, and maybe China or India, we should definitely not forget those guys in the East. So they are moving ahead quickly, but they will have their own markets. US is having their own markets in the energy space, and Europe is an own market as well. But with a lot of fragmentation, which is a challenge of itself. But I see Europe and also Germany in a special role here. We are the forerunner in that industry in changing the energy system, and we definitely can take advantage of it. And I guess we will do. That's why I believe in our investments and in venture capital in energy.
On this positive note, I want to thank you all, Rob Margot and Ulrich, for joining me today, and tune in for other discussions, and hopefully seeing you in person soon.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, and also just to top up on what the speakers already mentioned, our audience very much also thinks that Europe is going to be the place where new unicorns in AI and automation sector, in the energy specifically, are going to be turning out from. As well as there is a small cast on Asian Pacific, what Ulrich already mentioned. Let's not forget about them, right? Okay, so thank you so much, all the panel discussants and also Rokas for moderating our last session for the automation and AI segment. This pretty much wraps up our first part of the day. And now we're going to be heading into a small break of 30 minutes. And then I'll see you guys back to our second part of the day, which is going to be mainly focused on Future Grid. So stay tuned, and I hope you are still as excited as I am and in the studio. And I'll see you in 30 minutes.
Fits into the shape of a light bulb. Not only do we use it, we make it. We recharge our everyday life with it. Therefore, we expect more from it than ever. We want it to be green and trustworthy, powerful yet safe. Our task is not only to make sure it works, but to make sure every day it works better, smarter, more conveniently. Ignitus, an international energy group, making the world energy smart.
Tai, ką pasaulis darė paskutinį šimtmetį su naftos produktais, juos degindamas, tai yra visiškai nedovanotina. Jaunystėje buvau vienas iš žalių judėjimo pradininkų ir po to, kai taip susiklostė aplinkybės ir pradėjau savo verslą, tai visi sprendimai verslo ir paieškos buvo surasti naudą gamtai ir be abejo ekonominė logika.
Dancer išskirtinumas yra lengvumas. Lengvumą mes pasiekėme naudodami kompozitinės medžiagas. Šis autobusas sveria 2 kartus mažiau nei tie autobusai, kurie važinėja gatvėse, varomi konvenciniu kuru. Dvigubai lengvesnis autobusas leidžia mums pasiekti dvigubai mažesnės energijos vartojimo sąnaudas. Taigi miestas šiuo atveju laimi tikrai labai daug, gatvėse mažiau provėžų, sunaudojama mažiau energijos, sutaupoma daugiau pinigų.
Dancer monitoringo sistema, kuri leidžia stebėti autobuso parametrus nuotoliniu būdu. Panašiai kaip lėktuvo juodoji dėžė, jinai rašo visus duomenis ir leidžia anksčiau laiko nustatyti galimus gedimus.
Autobuse yra įdiegta greito krovimo sistema. Baterija pasikrauna per 6 minutes. Būtent per tą laiką, kol autobusas kraunasi, vairuotojas spės atsigerti kavos, pailsėti, kol pasiruoš sekančiam maršrutui.
Dancer and Dancer Leasing developed a concept, we call it the Don't Worry package, where we take care of the financing and the leasing of the buses. We take care of the maintenance of the buses, plus we are 100% CO2 free because the buses which are produced here in Klaipėda in our enterprise, these buses will be supplied by Dancer Leasing with 100% clean CO2 neutral energy.
Mūsų autobusas, mūsų siūlymas visuomeniai, tai yra šokis. Tai yra gaivus oras. Tai yra nedidelės sąnaudos, skaitykim. Tai yra grįžimas atgal į viešąjį transportą. Tai yra daug. Ir tai yra nuostabus šokis.
Renewable energies will lead to a change that will have a huge impact on our future. What might look simple on the outside is only possible with a reliable and secure power grid. The energy transition makes grid planning and operation increasingly complex, and Velio supports grid operators to meet this challenge. The Intelligent Grid Platform is a software assistance system that digitizes technical grid planning and operation processes. It provides multiple applications in 3 main areas. In the area of data quality, a complete digital twin of the entire grid is developed. With this model, typical grid planning processes can be automated, such as connection impact analyses for new generators or consumers. In the area of grid operation, live measurement data is integrated in order to identify grid bottlenecks in real time. Processes that used to be very time-consuming can be completed in minutes. Renewable generators and charging points for electric vehicles can be integrated faster and with less costs. This does not only benefit the climate, but also our society, as the energy transition remains affordable. And Velio, digital transformation of electricity grids.
Wait, what, sorry?
Vilnius.
Vilnius.
It's Vilnius.
Which one?
Vilnius. It's Austria.
Welcome to Vilnius, Austria, the undiscovered jewel of the Alps. Vilnius is characterized by having most of its landmarks just a few minutes away from each other by foot. This admirable city is in the heart of Austria.
Vilnius? In Italy?
In the heart of Italy, being its most well-kept secret. Its effervescent streets and colorful markets make it a perfect destination for any traveler. For obvious reasons, Vilnius is the pride of Italy. I mean, the pride of Finland. Vilnius's old town, considered one of the biggest in the region, is crowned by the majestic Gedimino Tower, where travelers like this young fellow, hello there, buddy, can have the same view that the old ruler of Finland, the old ruler of Venezuela.
Sweden?
I mean, Sweden.
Belgium.
Oh, okay.
Ethiopia.
Of Ethiopia.
Romania.
What if I told you that Vilnius is the capital of Lithuania?
Oh, would never know.
Yeah?
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes!
Welcome to Vilnius, Lithuania.
The Netherlands is a small but resilient country. We have always been at the forefront of innovation. When faced with a challenge, we take it on to find answers and solutions that make the world a better place. From protecting ourselves against the seas to pioneering technologies such as Wi-Fi.
Over the last 10, 15 years, we have produced remarkably successful companies within Europe, but even on a global level, it's quite exceptional. And if you then subsequently look at what's going on in Holland right now, I believe the future looks very bright for our country, so a lot to be proud of.
Technology may be the key to the future, but it's the people with great ideas that hold the key in their hands. The bright minds, the innovators, and the change makers. These people deserve our support to rise to today's challenges. We need to empower Dutch leaders and provide them with an ecosystem for innovation to ensure the Netherlands stays an innovation leader with a competitive and relevant economy in this rapidly changing world.
The Netherlands might look like a small country, but it's very important that we stay ahead of these developments and instead of be the follower.
The entrepreneurial spirit that we find in the can-do attitude, the level of ambition in Holland is something I haven't seen in many other countries in Europe. So I think it's time to act, and it's time to act now.
We are TechLeap, We empower Dutch leaders with support when it comes to access to capital, talent, markets, and technology. We bridge the gap between where they are and where they want to be.
I really believe that TechLeap can make a difference, and that's the reason also why myself and some of my colleagues have decided to spend some of our time really bring our experience to help some companies and some startups scale up in Holland and having the global impact that we've had with our own companies.
Together with the ecosystem, we help people with great ideas to reach their maximum potential in the world of today and in the world of tomorrow. TechLeap, empowering Dutch leaders in tech.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the second part of the day for Energy Tech Summit, Day 4. So this morning we focused heavily on artificial intelligence and automation segment, and now we are moving forward with our future grid vertical. As energy production becomes more decentralized every day, the grid will obviously have to evolve in order to cope with these challenges. And this brings a whole new range of challenges with it, and therefore our next keynote speaker, Giedrus Kvedaravičius, who is the Director of Sales Development Department at ESO, will elaborate on what he thinks these challenges should be, or what they are, and how we may overcome this situation. So without any further ado, Giedrus, please take the stage as you have joined me here live from Vilnius.
Thank you very much, Maria. And as mentioned, I'm working in Lithuanian DSO called ESO. And it's, I would say, the only one and the biggest distribution network operator, which basically connects all customers and all small-scale generators to the network. And for the next half an hour, I will tell you what challenges do we face when connecting them and managing them. So, looking at the presentation, what we see, I want to say that energy sector is considered the most prone sector for disruption. It means that it has the biggest impact on overall economy, which will be disrupted next. So it means there will be some changes over the next 5, maximum 10 years, which will dramatically change our working environment and energy consumption. So looking at the most important trends, what we have, it's 4 of them. The first one is energy sector is moving from big centralized generators to decentralized generation where people or businesses can have their own power plants. And obviously what it causes is movement of energy changes because the whole energy system is built for one-way direction of flows, and with this transformation we'll get two-way direction. And it means a lot of changes in our infrastructure and in behaviors of the customers, because usually how energy was working over 40 years or so, we basically connect and forget the customer. But now customers are becoming more and more active. They want to get to be more involved. They want to manage their consumption, and they want to make decisions. And also what we are trying to do is move from reactive operator to active monitoring and management of the whole network. And also we should be more flexible because customers has different equipment, different systems, and it means that we should be more flexible in integrating generators and consumers. So just to quick overview how looks Lithuanian energy consumption. In this graph you see overall energy consumption in Lithuania, electricity, gas, diesel, biofuel, etc. And what's happening right now, basically